Hello from Shanghai, this is Chris. Welcome to another episode of China Currents, your weekly news report of what's trending in China. The top trending news this week is undoubtedly US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to China, which starts on April 24th in Shanghai. But the drama of Blinken's visit started even earlier, before his physical appearance in China. Prior to the visit, US officials adopted their usual tactic of using harsh language to apply pressure on China, expressing the so-called strong concerns about China's support for Russia and the Taiwan question. Chinese observers stated that the recent frequent visits of Blinken, as well as a string of other US officials, indicate that Washington is unable to solve domestic and global issues without cooperation from China. Therefore, when seeking help from Beijing, the US will be wise to communicate with China respectively and as equals, rather than condescendingly. According to the US State Department spokesman Matthew Miller, Blinken would discuss a range of bilateral, regional, and global issues, including the Middle East, the war in Ukraine, the South China Sea, and the Taiwan Straits. He will also talk about progress made in resuming counter-narcotics cooperation, military-to-military communication, artificial intelligence, and strengthening people-to-people ties, and will reaffirm how important it is for the US and China to be responsibly managing competition even in areas where our two countries disagree. On April 24th, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Shanghai to begin the second official visit to China of his tenure. Blinken is scheduled to travel to China from Wednesday to Friday, where he will meet with senior Chinese officials in both Shanghai and Beijing to talk about a range of bilateral, regional, and global issues. Some Western media also hold a cautious view of this visit. The New York Times said Blinken goes to China with potential trouble on horizon, as the visit comes as Democrats and Republicans are vying to appear tougher on China. Reuters said Blinken arrived with bilateral ties on a steadier footing, but with a daunting array of unresolved issues threatening the stability of relations between the two countries. The Associated Press also listed the major divisions between China and the US and key issues that Blinken is going to bring up on the trip, including the Russia-Ukraine conflict, tensions in the Middle East, the Taiwan question, and the South China Sea issue. Just before Blinken boarded his plane, the North America and Oceania Department of China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs briefed the media on Monday, providing a 3,000-plus word statement about the details of the visit. It not only reiterated a welcoming attitude, but also elaborately outlined the 5 main objectives of the visit, including establishing correct perceptions, enhancing dialogue, effectively managing differences, advancing mutually beneficial cooperation, and jointly undertaking the responsibilities of a major country. Experts said that the briefing has also considered a negotiating memorandum provided to Blinken. Next up, Malaysian Foreign Minister Dato Seri Utama Haji Muhammad bin Haji Hassan arrived in Beijing on Tuesday for a 3-day visit to China, his first visit to the country since he took the post in December 2023. Chinese experts said this visit could pave the way for future high-level exchanges between the two countries and also aim to implement a series of consensus reached by the two heads of state in 2023. Some experts hailed China-Malaysia relations as exemplary and pragmatic among China's relations with ASEAN countries. Despite changes in the Malaysian government since 2018, the major direction of cooperation between China and Malaysia has not been significantly impacted. Malaysia's stance on the South China Sea issue is relatively pragmatic and moderate, emphasizing dialogue concerning this issue, which will also send out a positive signal to the region, especially when the Philippines continue to provoke tensions under the US instigation. Next up, senior naval officers from around the world on Monday witnessed the opening of a naval symposium in China, which is aimed at bridging differences and seeking global governance on maritime issues. While a senior Chinese defense official reaffirmed China's commitment to resolving disputes with directly involved countries through friendly consultations, but also vowed countermeasures against unwarranted provocations. The 19th Western Pacific Naval Symposium opened on Monday in the port city of Qingdao in East China's Shandong province, And Zhang Youxia, vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, attended the event and delivered a speech. Zhang said that China's armed forces have actively participated in international cooperation of maritime security and provided maritime public security goods, adding that China will play a more positive and open role in international military cooperation. He said that we should resolutely abandon the Cold War mentality, join hands to create peace and stability, bridge differences through dialogue and consultation, jointly discuss and establish rules for governance, and push maritime security governance to a new level with practical results. Next up, flood-affected areas in South China on Monday called for an all-out effort to reduce the impact brought about by the heavy rainfall during recent days, including transferring residents, strengthening monitoring frequency, and issuing early warnings to safeguard people's lives and property, and preventing secondary disasters such as landslides caused by heavy rainfall. China's National Meteorological Center on Monday issued a yellow alert for rainstorm and a blue alert for severe convection weather as heavy downpours as well as thunderstorms, gales, and hail are anticipated to lash parts of the country, including parts of South China's Guangdong Province and Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region from Monday to Tuesday. China has a 4-tier weather warning system, with red being the most severe, followed by orange, yellow, and blue. China's State Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters and the Ministry of Emergency Management on Monday continued to coordinate and deploy flood control and disaster relief work in key areas in South China and other regions to cope with the new round of heavy rainfall. Next up, last Sunday, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi wrapped up his visit to Papua New Guinea with a meeting with Prime Minister James Marape, confirming mutual interest of speeding up cooperation in broad fields, which analysts said will inject more vitality into the South Pacific region. The mutually beneficial cooperation between the two countries has been expanding and deepening, providing a steady stream of impetus for their respective development and revitalization. And in the process of PNG's development, China will be your most reliable partner, Wang told Marape on Sunday. And Chinese observers noted that the productive discussions between the two sides highlights the warmer ties between the island country and China. And they cautioned against the U.S. attempts to stir discord between China and the PNG, emphasizing that the tangible benefits derived from partnering with China in the region cannot be overlooked by local government and the people. Next up, Chinese President Xi Jinping, in a congratulatory letter to the first China, Latin American, and Caribbean States Space Cooperation Forum on Wednesday, highlighted that China is ready to work with Latin America and Caribbean countries to build a high-level space cooperation partnership to promote space technology to better benefit both peoples and continue to promote the building of a community of China and the Latin American and Caribbean countries with a shared future. The event, co-hosted by the China National Space Administration and Hubei Provincial Government, took place in Wuhan, Hubei Province on Wednesday. The forum holds great significance in inspiring space scientific innovation, deepening international space cooperation, and showcasing the high level of political trust between China and the Latin America, Caribbean countries. Noting that this year marks the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the China CELAC Forum, jointly announced by the leaders of the two sides. Xi said that China and Latin American and Caribbean countries have seen prosperous development over the past decade in their cooperation in various fields within the framework of the China CELAC Forum to ushering a new era featuring equality, mutual benefit, innovation, openness, and tangible benefits for the people. She said that China is ready to work with Latin American and Caribbean countries to build a high-level space cooperation partnership, promote space technology to better benefit both peoples, and continue to promote the building of a community of China and the Latin American and Caribbean countries with a shared future. Last but not least, the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy held open day events in multiple coastal cities across China around Tuesday to mark the 75th anniversary of its founding, with numerous people getting on board advanced warships to enjoy the moment of pride and patriotism with naval officers. Military experts said the Chinese Navy will keep developing and getting more powerful in the future to meet the demand of safeguarding the nation and the world peace. April 23rd marks the 75th anniversary of the PLA Navy. From Saturday to Wednesday, the public in Qingdao will be able to tour the missile destroyers Guiyang, Shijiazhuang, and Kaifeng, and missile frigate Handan, supply ship Kekeshilihu, and submarine rescue vessel Hongzehu at the Pier 3 and the Qingdao International Sailing Center Pier. Most of the naval vessels have been involved in major missions such as escort missions in the Gulf of Aden authorized by the UN Security Council, overseas port visits, and joint exercises. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. I'm Chris, looking forward to hearing from you, and see you next time.